you've met me already. I'm still Martha Foote from Borden and Elliott. I haven't changed. It's more like to at the moment.
No, and for those of you, I think we may have a few new people
I'm
who have
sorry,
come
I
down from the other
apologize.
session, Martha, my
I
goodness.
apologize.
And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rick Morelli, and I'm a lawyer at Borden and Elliott. I was going to say as well, but no, I'm just a lawyer at Borden and Elliott.
Okay, since we got that established. All right, question number 1. What sorts of information about each company do you think the client will require in order to better evaluate each possible acquisitions? Right, so what sort of information would you want to know if you're going to buy this company? General profiles? Like you want to know the last year price fluctuations. All right. Now, so you want to know the directors, officers. Now, where would you find that information on directors and officers? Oh. Okay. Now, what other information, types of information or documents would you want to see? So you want to see officers, directors, history of the stock price, see if there's been any wild variations in price.
First of all, I'd like to know whether it's a friendly takeover or hostile takeover.
I knew someone was going to. Well, since they don't know, assume it's hostile. Since there's no knowledge in the other part. They're always fun anyways. Okay, what other information would you want to know? Or types of documents? Pardon? Okay, annuals, just annuals or annuals in terms? Quarterlies and annuals? Okay, so jurisdiction. All right, anything else? Come on. If you were going to buy stock in this company, or you were going to buy some sort of share, what would you want to know? So you want to know who's running the company. So you want to know what they own. What else? So if they own something, yeah. So yeah, so your price. What else? Well, if they have assets and the balance sheet. What particularly in the balance sheet? Right. So you want to know if they're over leveraged, if they're right. All right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Anything else? And all right. So the information you get on the company would be from like annual reports, quarterly reports, the financial statements, information circulars to find out who the directors, officers are. Also, there'll be the latest annual financial statements in there. You also go to the CEDAR website. It says, and look up all material change reports, see what's happened in the past year or 2 years. Someone mentioned trading information. You go to one of those websites, find a chart for the past year, see if there's been wild fluctuation in the stock price, and try to find out why it's gone from 10 cents to $3 in a matter of months, then back down to 10 cents again. You would also want their credit history, see whether or not they're over leveraging their assets. You also want to know who the affiliated companies are. That might impact your decision whether or not to acquire this company. And you also would like a copy of press releases. See what's going on with the company for the past year. See what direction they're heading in. Now, once you get this company information, sure. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to make a comment on the stock market databases, just so you're aware of this, should you do any securities, any stock price research. Up until about a year ago, most of us got our Canadian stock prices from InfoGlobe, which you probably know as the Globe and Mail Online. It contained both the newspaper and stock quotes from the Canadian exchanges. It had some other stuff too, but it's not pertinent to our question here. Mid-1998, Infoglobe and Dow Jones, a U.S. company, entered into an arrangement together, and Infoglobe is now marketed through Dow Jones. That meant a number of changes, one of which is that we no longer got our stock quotes through Infoglobe's Market Scan product. No one ever quarreled with Market Scan. Everyone thought it was glorious. We began getting the stock quotes from Dow Jones, assuming that the transition had been smooth and they were making everything very nice for us. It's now a web-based service. We began getting complaints from lawyers about the quality of the stock market data. What's this? This isn't accurate. This doesn't agree with what I've got. And usually, of course, they're very polite and easy to get along with, but in this case, I understood their concern. We were talking to colleagues at other law firm libraries, and they were saying, we're getting the same reaction. So I called Dow and said, what is the source of your data? And Dow is a U.S. company, and frankly, don't ever say I said this is off the record, but I don't think the U.S. companies worry too much about the Canadian market because we're such a small market compared to their big U.S. market. Dow Jones's response was, well, we get it from Tradeline, and Tradeline gets it from somebody, and yada, 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 several layers down. And the conclusion we came to was that we couldn't rely on the data that was coming off Dow Jones anymore. That the U.S. data is probably accurate, but the Canadian data was being got through several channels, and none of them seemed to be too accurate. So we looked at some alternatives, and no one was too happy with them. Some people were rounding up figures, they were rounding down. And the lawyer's reaction, we had one or two lawyers who helped us with this, and they were going, no, no, no. And what we do now is most of our data we get from the TSE, but we phone the exchanges directly now, and they will fax it to us because we find we can't rely on what's coming off the Dow for Canadian stuff. I suspect you can for American because they're not running into the same multi-layer situation, but just bear in mind when you're getting the stock market data that the source you pick may not always be the most accurate, and you may wish to question what you're doing or do as we do and go to the horse's mouth more or less. Sorry? We had to pay a fee to do that, and it was a very high fee given the amount of searching that we would be doing. I think it was $200 a month they wanted, and we weren't doing $200 worth of searching, and so we couldn't charge it back to the client. We'd have to write it off, and that didn't go over too well. Every firm environment is different, and that didn't go over too well where we are. So the conclusion for the solution for us, that may not be the solution for you, was that we just call the TSC whenever this arises. If you do a lot of stock market searching, $200 a month may be peanuts. But for us, it wasn't, and so we had to make that decision. But just assess very carefully the source you're using when you're getting your stock market data, because the information may not be pinpoint accurate, and that may cause fur to fly, so to speak.
Yeah, any more questions? All right, so now that you've got this information particular to that company, is there any other types of information you would want to evaluate the acquisition? Bear in mind that this is a software development company. So you know who the directors, officers are. You know what's been happening with this company for the past year. Is there anything else that might impact the client's decision? Pardon? Well, hopefully that'll be in the annual report, which it should be in the annual report to begin with. So you established that they are Y2K compliant. So the, yes? Okay. So you want to know if they owe any royalty rights or?
Sometimes software development contracts are really just licenses, and the developer owns the rights and the company doesn't.
Okay.
And that can impact your decision on whether you buy the company or not.
All right. Now, is there any more types of general information that the client might be interested in looking at? Yes?
I want to show this was from the transfer agent.
Okay. So you order that up. So now you know who the shareholders are, you know who the directors, officers are, you know where this company's been for the past year with respect to press releases, etc. You got their financial statements, you know the financial history of the company. Now, is there anything besides the company? Yes? Right. So now you go to the software development industry. Now, what types of information would you want about that industry itself?
Direction it's going in, what kind of products or alliances,
All right.
things that they're into that they might be.
Who's
looking
into?
at, a particular company that
Okay.
sort of possible alliances.
So you want to know if they have any venture partners, any research contracts, with what parties? What other information would you want to know about the software development industry? Right. You want to know who the big players are. You want to know where they stand, and what else would you like to know, or you feel it's necessary?
Possible legislation that we pass in the country.
Right. So you want to know what sort of issues are out there that would affect the software development and how that would impact your client. Now, where would you get this sort of information? So you want to know where the software development industry is going. You want to know what sort of trends are happening there, what's going on within the software development. You want to know who's the major player. Where would you go to find this information? Okay, so you look at journals. So there's journals for software development, inside journals, right? Anything else? You might say you can't find any, or local library doesn't have them in stock. It's very hard to find those journals because they're so specific. So where would you go? Anywhere on the internet? Well, actually, some journals may be on the internet. So, pardon? Actually, there's a website, the Government of Canada website, Strategist. I believe it's in your list. And that has really good information about particular areas of the economy, recent trends, what's happening, the growth rate, whether or not it's growing, future projections. Gives you a snapshot of today, and it also tries to project what it would be like tomorrow as well. So that's information your client would like to know. It's called The Strategist. Let's see. Yeah, it's on the first page. Useful websites and search tools. Third from the bottom.
If I can just interject for a sec, Jay. We use Strategist a lot, but I find that the information is not well organized, so you will have to spend a lot of time sort of wandering through to find what you want.
Right. Now, if you go Strategist right off the bat, you have to do that. But if you go through, say, Carlson online, and you put the name of the company in, you type the name of the company, at the bottom, it will have a hyperlink to the Strategist part. So if you know that Omega is in software development, they're a public company, you type their name on Carlson, you get to their page, at the bottom would have the Strategist hyperlink to that sector of the economy. It's a little shortcut. All right, any questions, comments? No? All right, question 2. Okay, what Canadian research tools can be utilized in order to find the necessary information about beta? Well, I guess we answered it to some extent. Someone already mentioned CDAR website, which is always a great starting place. Where else would you look to find information on beta? It's Beta is a public company. Is it trading anywhere? Pardon? So it's Alberta. So where would you go? Right. So you go to the Alberta Stock Exchange website. See what information is on there. Now, someone mentioned they'll like to see the history of the stock price. Where would you go for that? Pardon? Right. You go to Canada Stock Watch. I don't know if that's a free service.
I don't think it is. We looked at it last year. We went through this whole Dow Jones fiasco, and I think, my memory fails me as usual, but I think there was a fee attached to it. And we also had a concern about the accuracy of the data.
Yeah. The one thing you should always keep in mind with the internet, you always get what you pay for. So if it's service is free, you got to question it. How reliable is it? If there's a fee attached to it, more than likely it would be more reliable than the free information. But sometimes you get free information that's just as good or better than some information you have to pay for. So just always keep that in mind. So you go to CDAR, you go to the Alberta Stock Exchange website, you go to Canada Stock Watch. Now you want to know what happened the past year. You want to get a copy of their press releases. Where would you go? Pardon? So you go Canada Newswire. If they're not, what happens if they don't subscribe to Canada Newswire? You go to the, right. Well, if you subscribe to Quick Law, you could do a Quick Law search. Some firms don't subscribe to Quick Law. It's quite expensive. What's that?
No, it's not. I think Quick Law is very cost effective. We talked about this morning.
True librarian spoken. Say your firm doesn't want to pay for Quick Law. We always blame the firm. So it doesn't subscribe to Canada Newswire. So you would have to go to each news service, see if they have to subscribe to one news service. So you might have to do a little legwork there, try to find out which news service it subscribes to, and then do your search that way. All right. Now, like I said, if you use Carlson Online, that's the easier way, because Carlson Online has the link to the news service it subscribes, and it has the most recent press releases. So Carlson's, it's a good starting point with respect in that respect. All right. Okay. Oh, sorry. Just yell. Right. Right, but that's exactly true. Most major companies have their website, and it'll be under the investor relations subcategory. And they'll have all their press releases, financial statements listed. Some companies don't have the money or the energy or the time to develop their own website. Right, yeah, if you're lucky, oh, they should have a website. If they don't, you got to question why they're in this. That should be your first red flag there. Right, if you're lucky enough, the company will have a website and all your work's done for you there. But you also have to do the CDAR because they won't file everything, especially if it's bad news. They won't like to publicize the bad news on their website, so you have to go elsewhere and hunt it down. Right, so any other sources? No? All right, now Omega, it's a US-based public company. So what research tools can be utilized in order to find out more about Omega and take over bid laws in the United States? So now you have to find information about Omega. It's a US-based company. Where would you go? Yes? Pardon? Edgar. Right. Everyone knows what Edgar is, right? An American version of CDAR. It's a lot harder to use and a lot more archaic than CDAR, actually. Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. So you go to Edgar, you find out all the documents they filed with the SEC. Now you want to know their trading history. How would you find out? They are, well, the fact is it's a US-based public company, which the client thinks it's on NASDAQ. So how do you determine whether or not it's on NASDAQ? Let me ask the panel up here.
We go to the website.
Pardon?
We go to the website?
Yeah, believe it or not,
website?
NASDAQ has its website, has its own website, and it's www.nasdaq.com. Go there, you type in the name of the company. If it's a NASDAQ listed company, it would show up. It'll give you its trading history for the past year. Now you go to NASDAQ, you find out they're not listed on NASDAQ. So now you have a problem. How would you determine where it's listed? All right. Since it's not listed on NASDAQ, what you try to do is try to get as much information on the company, and somewhere along the line it would state where it's listed. So there's a website, Hoover's. Yeah, hoovers.com. It's similar to Carlson Online. You go to a website, you type in the name of the company, enter, does a search, it brings up all the information with respect to that company. And if you do that with this company, you'll find out they trade on the over-the-counter bulletin board, which is similar to CDN in Toronto. And now, believe it or not, OTC, the over-the-counter bulletin board, has its own website as well. So you go to their website, I believe it's www.otcbb.com. I type in the name of the company, and their trading history pops up once again. Now, so you find out where Omega's listed. You have all the relevant documents. So that's one problem down. The lawyer wants to know all about takeover bid law in the United States. How do you find that information for them? Where would you go to find any legal information on takeover bids? Yes? Pardon? They don't give legal advice.
They would give like criteria and terms.
No. The SEC webpage, strictly informational purposes only. What's happening within the commission, updates. They don't go out and start saying, here's the requirement. They don't like to post legal information on their website. They figured the lawyers should know, or the lawyers should find out themselves. It's a good starting point.
Right, another place to look if you're trying to limit competition is the Federal Trade Commission website.
The pardon?
The Federal Trade Commission website.
Federal Trade Commission website? I've never been.
Canadian companies buy U.S. companies, and they're creating a monopoly if they have to file for the trade commission.
Right, but what you're looking for is what if a Canadian company is going to take over an American company, what requirements does the Canadian company have to fulfill?
Well, that's on the Federal Trade.
Right, but that's only if you go for 20%, or if there's certain rules.
It's all about
Right, but you just want general, like what documents do I have to file, or do I have to file any documents at all, or do I have to comply with any U.S. securities law if I'm going to acquire a company? Where would you go for that? What's a good starting point? Pardon? Cedar. No, Cedar's always a good choice. I'm sorry?
Justice Department for that state.
Justice Department for the state? That could be a possibility. Any other suggestions?
Would it be helpful if you knew which jurisdiction the company operates out and what the laws are for that jurisdiction? Maybe
Okay, so I believe this is a, it doesn't say what it is.
No,
Say it's a New York-based company.
so you find out the legislation.
Okay. Say New York securities law doesn't deal with takeovers. It's a federal,
Oh, right.
right? Say takeover bids, it's governed by the SEC, federal legislation.
Agent.
Let the client pay for that, I agree. Well, a good starting point is you can go to major law firms' websites and see if there's any publications on law. Right, same thing in Canada. If you're asking to do some sort of research, you don't know anything about that topic, good place to go to law firm websites. They usually have publications online. It's a good starting point just to get a feeling for that area.
I was just going to add, Martha, maybe you can help me with this. Like Lexis and Westlaw, to what extent would they be valuable in this
Actually, quite.
application? And I don't know to what extent people are familiar with Lexis and Westlaw. They're the American version, I guess I would call it, of Quick Law.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, that's the closest equivalent. They tend to have more information there. They do have a lot of securities information. They have a lot of, I meant to mention it this morning, but I forgot. If you don't have web access or your web access blows up, Lexis does have securities documents pre and post Edgar. They have a number of securities publications on there. You won't get stuff from law firms. You will get stuff sometimes from textbooks and loose leaf services. For example, Clark Boardman, the U.S. publisher, has a relationship with Westlaw, and some of their books go up. You will get SEC guidelines and things like that on Westlaw and Lexis. The trouble is they're very expensive to search, and you do need good training before you go on. This isn't like typing it in web stuff. It's much more complex than that, or it can be. So if you didn't have training on these systems, I wouldn't recommend you use them off the bat. Find someone else to do it for you. But there is a lot of security stuff there, but I don't think it will cover all the things that Jay is talking about. I'm really not answering the question. I guess I don't really have an answer, but.
Right, another good site to go to for general information on U.S. law is the University of Cincinnati website. for you securities law. There's hyperlinks to different topics, and takeover, I imagine, will be one of them. I believe it is one. And you click on takeover bid laws, give you a general breakdown of what's required, what's not. That's one. Also, you could go try the CCH, Securities Law Reporters on U.S. law. Is that online, CCH? I still pay.
Some of the tax stuff is on Quick Law, but that's it.
Right, so so you have to go to your local library to get that info. You can search Edgar for precedents. It won't tell you what's required. It'll tell you how to fill out the forms, give you an idea of what type of forms you need to fill out. But if you don't know what forms you're looking for, that could be kind of redundant. And also, so that's for takeover bid laws. Now, there's a sub that Omega has a sub in United Kingdom. How would you get information on that sub? Yeah. Right. Right, so if it's trading, say it's listed in the UK, you go to the London Stock Exchange website. If it's listed, all the information will be there, the forms and etc. So you go there as well. Any questions? Comments from the panel up here? All right, final. Okay, we're not going to does anybody know what a poison pill is? All right. In 30 seconds, it's a device used by companies to discourage takeover bids. It forces the person who wants to buy shares to actually negotiate. That's the 30 seconds. It's just used to discourage hostile takeovers. It makes them virtually impossible. So it forces the person to actually sit down with the board of directors and come to an agreement on how to proceed. So that's what poison pills are. Now you need to find out information about poison pills, and more importantly, you want to know whether these companies have poison pills or have adopted poison pills. How would you do that? No, poison pills they have to be approved by shareholders at meetings. So, right, now, what information is given out to shareholders for the meetings? Not really. Right, circulars. So you look at their circulars for the past couple of years. All the information the shareholder on the poison pills have to be within the circular. So if you download the circular, you actually get a copy of the shareholder rights plan. Also, another way to determine is to do a press release search. They have to announce if the shareholders approve a poison pill. They have to announce it through a press release. So if you do a search on a press release, you will determine whether or not they've adopted a poison pill. And if they have adopted it, that's when you can go back, try to find it in the CEDAR website through the information circular. All right, so now you want information about poison pills generally. What are they, how you can use them, how you adopt them. Where would you get that general information from? About the panel up here. All right. Pardon?
No. Well, I was just going to add, there are several securities law publications where you can get background information of a general nature on poison pills and other securities matters, and a few of them are, there's a securities partner, there's a CCH service.
Right.
There's Alboini on securities law, which I think is regarded as, I'm not being really a securities lawyer, but I think it's regarded as one of the better loose leaf services on securities law. So this would be a good source to look at as well. And then this source I've never used, but it's on my key here, is the University of Cincinnati website.
It's actually pretty good.
Is it?
Yeah. Actually, another good search service is eCarswell. I don't know if anybody uses eCarswell. They have eCarswell Law, Family, and Securities. eCarswell Securities has literally all Canadian references to securities law. Has Albuini online, has Blake's Precedents online, has Securities Newsletter. It's a great website if you do securities law. All your information is there. It's just a one-stop. Has a good search engine, makes it easy, user-friendly. Unfortunately, it's quite expensive to use, but everything that's good is also expensive. Anything else?
No, I'll just add one other source is a question of this nature when somebody's asking you, what is a poison pill? I mean, you can go to a general corporate law text as well, maybe helpful, just to give you some background if you have no idea what it is, and for some reason, again, I'll go back to Morelli's 1 cent worth of advice, be practical, and that is if you're really not sure what it is, I would ask first if somebody can give you a sense of what a poison pill is, in much the same way that Jay has, and then go to a corporate law text and maybe pick up a little bit more general information.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, like I come from a small firm, and so we don't have the resources the big firms. So we don't have reference librarians or any of that sort. So if someone comes to me and says, "What's a poison pill?" What I usually do is I go on the internet and I do a general search. You use one of those search engines, InfoSeek, Hotboot, Alta Vista, what have you, and just type in your term. And hopefully someone's written something on the internet about it, or give you links to other companies. But don't use that as your only source. Use that just to familiarize yourself with it. Then once you're familiar, you know where to go after that. But because most law firms, and this doesn't go with securities, most law firms, they like to publicize their services, be it securities, corporate, civil litigation. They always publish articles written by their lawyers, and they're public, and they're made available to anyone. And that's always a good way. Just type in your term, and there'll be something out there on the internet.
So you can refer to a book.
Pardon?
You can refer to a book.
Well, if you know, if you have a book in the library, I would.
You have a library.
Right? Or if you can't go to the library, or if it's late at night, you want to do it quick, internet's always open. That's a good thing about the internet. It never closes.
I would go. I'm going to disagree with Jay because it's fun to disagree with Jay.
We just met.
It doesn't matter. I'm very argumentative. No, Jay's points are valid. I would tend to go to a good dictionary of words and phrases book first, or go to something like a securities service, Canadian Securities Law Reporter, on CD-ROM, in paper, whatever is handiest to you, and you're more comfortable with. Or for the U.S., I hate to recommend it, but that blasted Federal Securities Law Report, it's about yay big. It's this gigantic loose-leaf service. I maintain no one except a U.S. practitioner who's been doing securities work for 10 years understands how to open the thing. But if you persevere with those, you can get an answer. My concern about the web is that unless you're absolutely sure who put up the website, this person could be a psycho. I'm being serious here. Someone can attach themselves to a particular web address, and they can put up all kinds of garbage, and you don't know that it's legitimate, so you have to be very, very careful. And I won't accept general stuff off the web unless it comes from a law firm that I've heard of that isn't fly-by-night. I mean, most of them are fairly serious, but you get what I'm saying. For example, from a university I know, I'll take it from Columbia, but I won't take it from, say, the College of the Ozarks, which really does exist, because I don't know anything about them. Are they accredited? Who are these people? Or from Joe Smith's website, because you don't know who this person is. So you have to really assess your web sources before you accept what you find there. But the internet can be very useful. There is good stuff there.
Can I just? I'd just like to disagree with Martha.
Please,
just to
you
liven
usually
things
do.
up. No, actually, I'm not going to disagree. I'm just going to attempt to supplement what Martha said. The other sources we're bantering on up here that I think is sometimes helpful, particularly in securities law, is conference materials. I know at Board and Elliott we have a whole slew of conference materials. They tend to be fairly specific sometimes, but often you can find a good paper, which is also quite useful. So that's just another source to keep in your pocket.
He won't disagree with me because he knows if he has a really nasty question tomorrow, I just won't pick up my phone.
I guess that's the questions. Any comments, questions? No? None? From the panel, closing remarks? No? Okay, the answers or up here. If you haven't received a copy, you can come grab them on your way out. It has the answers to the questions. Other than that, thanks for coming.
Have fun.
Have fun surfing the net.